There's something timeless about a glass of bourbon. That deep amber color, the warm oaky aroma, the way it hits the back of your throat and tells you, yeah, you've arrived. But what is bourbon really? Where does it come from? And what makes it stand apart from every other whiskey in the world? Let's pour a glass and dive deep into the heart of America's native spirit. Bourbon isn't just whiskey, it's a whiskey with rules, character, and heritage. Here are 6 rules that make bourbon, bourbon. 1. It must be made in the United States. 2. It must have a mash bill of at least 51% corn. 3. It must be aged in new charred oak barrels. 4. It must be distilled to no more than 160 proof. It must enter the barrel at no more than 125 proof. And finally, it must be bottled at 80 proof or higher. Each rule serves a purpose. For example, the corn gives bourbon its signature sweetness. The charred oak barrels provide color, depth, and bold vanilla and spice notes. The proof limits keep the spirit flavorful and balanced. These rules aren't just legal, they're traditional. They ensure that when you drink bourbon, you're tasting authenticity. Let's take a walk through the process of how bourbon is made. Grains like corn, rye, wheat, malted barley are milled and cooked into a sweet mash. Then you have fermentation. Yeast is added to the mash, converting sugars into alcohol over several days. Then you have the distillation. The fermented liquid is distilled in column stills or pot stills. The alcohol is concentrated and refined. Then there's barreling. The spirit is transferred into new charred oak barrels at no more than 125 proof. Then you have the aging. Barrels are stored in houses where they expand and contract with the seasons, drawing flavor and color from the wood. Then they're bottled. Once aged, it's either filtered or proofed down with water or bottled at cask strength. This process is both art and science, and every step affects the final flavor. Bourbon's history is as rich as its flavor. In the late 1700s, settlers, especially Scottish-Irish immigrants, brought distillation skills westward into Kentucky. With corn as their primary crop and limestone filtered water at their disposal, the foundation was set. The term bourbon likely came from the Bourbon County, Kentucky, a hub for shipping barrels down the Ohio and Mississippi rivers. Those barrels labeled bourbon became known for their unique sweet whiskey. The Bottle and Bond Act of 1897 was a turning point. It established strict quality standards and was America's first consumer production law. Prohibition in the 1920s nearly killed bourbon. Only a few distilleries were allowed to continue for medicinal purposes. If you had a doctor's note, you could legally get a bottle. In 1964, Congress officially declared bourbon America's native spirit. Let's talk about what makes bourbon different from other whiskey styles. Scotch. Made primarily from malted barley and aged in used barrels, more smoky and earthy. Then you have Irish whiskey, typically triple distilled for smoothness, made with a mix of grains. There's rye whiskey, uses at least 51% rye grain. It's spicier and more robust than bourbon. There's also Tennessee whiskey, similar to bourbon, but goes through a charcoal filtering. Each has its charm, but bourbon's sweeter, fuller flavor stands apart. There are many styles of bourbon. Here are a few to know. High rye bourbon, known for being spicy and bold with a peppery kick. Wheated bourbon, smooth and yellow with soft sweetness. Single barrel, bottled from one individual barrel, offering unique flavor from that batch to batch. Small batch, blended from a small number of barrels for consistency and character. Cask strength, uncut and unfiltered, bottled straight from the barrel. These categories give bourbon fans endless ways to explore. Bourbon is booming. Today the bourbon industry is thriving. Craft distilleries experimenting with new mash bills and techniques. The Bourbon Trail, a mecca for whiskey tourism. collectors and enthusiasts chasing limited releases and store picks, celebrity brands entering the market. Limited bottles like Pappy Van Winkle's or the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection fetch thousands on the secondary market. And bourbon isn't just a drink. It's a hobby, a lifestyle, and even a culture. Want to taste bourbon like a pro? Use a proper glass, like a Glencairn, to focus aromas. Look at the color. Darker bourbons are often older or more heavily charred. Nose it gently. Take in the vanilla, oak, spice, caramel. Slip slowly. Let it coat your palate. Add a drop of water to open it up or to try it over a large ice cube. Flavor notes can include things such as honey, toffee, nutmeg, tobacco, cherry, leather, chocolate, and so much more. There's no right or wrong way to enjoy bourbon, just your way. So what is bourbon? It's a whiskey with roots, a spirit with standards, a drink that reflects American craftsmanship. Whether you're sipping a rare release or a $30 classic, you're part of something bigger. In future episodes, we will dive into bottle reviews, cocktail recipes, bourbon battles, and more. Until then, raise your glass and toast to America's native spirit.